Okay, well, welcome to the first community meeting of 2023. And we thought this would be a good opportunity to talk through the Adoptium Working Group program plan for the year. Now, just to set this into context, this is a plan which is worked out, owned ultimately by the Eclipse Foundation, that's being worked by the working group, who, as you know, are a group of people who come together to help to support the technical projects. And the plan has got substantial input from the PMC as well. There won't be anything in here which is surprising to people who are working in the project. These are all relating to how we support the technical projects and make sure they're successful through 2023. The reason for bringing it here is just to make sure that it's fully shared with everybody, so we're all aware of what's being discussed and where the emphasis lies for 2023. Now, there are lots of charts in this deck. It's quite comprehensive, and in a 30-minute talk, I won't be able to go through every chart and read all of them. So we're going to go very quickly, but if anybody wants a copy of these, they are publicly available as well. And we'll get that to you through the community channel. So, with all of that said, the contents of the plan are as follows. Talk about the mission, and then we have a couple of different kind of themes. One is the objectives. That's what we're trying to achieve as a plan through next year, and then the strategies and tactics, and that's the mechanisms that we're going to put in place to achieve those objectives. And then, because this is a working group document, we talk very much to the members of the working group and what we expect from those members to be able to support that plan and those tactics. And then at the end, we talk about the key metrics that we measure and measure ourselves against for the delivery on that plan. So this isn't going to come as a surprise to anybody. The reason the working group exists is to support those technical projects and making sure that each of those projects deliver on the high quality runtimes we use across the Java ecosystem, the associated technologies, so things that we have in the incubator, the Java mission control, Beat, and so on. So that's our mission statement in the working group. The various areas of endeavor from a very high level are runtimes and development kits. Again, not a great surprise to this group. Quality assurance, so that covers all of the Aquabeat work and the JCK work we do to ensure that the binaries that we put out there are fit for use by everybody. A focus on the vendor-neutral marketplace. Again, as working group members, everybody has the ability who meets those quality bars to distribute their information about their builds through the marketplace and have links to their builds from there. And then exploring technical opportunities. So this is innovation and differentiation. So that's both in the tooling, but the way in which we build the runtimes, and also in the runtimes themselves, to make sure that we're offering the best capabilities for people who are Java vendors and Java builders, and also Java users. So, looking forward to 2023, we have these four strong pillars of objectives that we wish to achieve, and sometimes continue from previous years. And the most important one, and the one we put first here, is to ensure that the community remains a healthy place for people to come and contribute. Because the code is disposable, we can easily rebuild the code, but the community is where all of the skills lay, where all of the vitality lays. So we need to ensure that everything that we do in Adoptium and the associated projects supports the technical work of the community. And that covers everything when we look at sort of infrastructure, making sure that we provide the right tools and machines for people to get their work done, all the way through to the communication channels that we have and ensuring that people speak nicely to one another. So everything to do with building the community and ensuring that community is a healthy place. We're producing something, we want to make sure that the product that we produce is the industry's top vendor-neutral source of those secure, high-level, and open-source Java runtimes. That's what we're here for. We're building Java runtimes, and we need to make sure we are the best in the industry of doing that. We need to build upon innovation, and that means looking for technical collaboration opportunities both within Eclipse and beyond Eclipse. So obviously, as being part of the Eclipse family, we're going to be looking at ways in which we can collaborate with other Eclipse projects that depend upon Java, or things that we can use from other Eclipse projects when we are building Java. But we're also looking beyond that, and you've also seen examples in the past of working with universities, working with other communities, working with companies to ensure that we bring in the best kind of technical work that we can see, the best ideas that we have in achieving our goals. And then finally, growing the membership and involvement in the project. So the way we can achieve this is by having our working group members grow. They represent different types of user and large users of the products that we have. And so we need to make sure that they are well represented in the working group and that they bring their knowledge and also their resources to help the project succeed. Also, by having a very broad set of members in the working group in the project ensures the project is robust and doesn't depend on any individual or individual company to succeed in the future. So those are the very broad objectives. And what we did in the program plan is to break down those objectives into the strategies and tactics that we will apply to make them successful. So there are actually kind of 2 charts per goal. And the way it's kind of laid out is to restate the program goal on the left-hand side of this first chart. So, as I mentioned earlier, ensuring Adoptium's projects thrive by producing a healthy community, and then the strategies and tactics that we will put in place to ensure that we meet that goal. Now, for the purposes of time, I won't be able to go through each of those strategies and tactics, but again, the charts will be available for people to come and have a look at them and go through and check that everything which is written on those strategies and tactics are in a position to help support achieving the goal. On the second chart, for the same goal, I've also summarized the achievements that we had in 2022 and what our objectives are for 2023. So again, this still relates to building around the community. We've made some claims here about things that we've done well in 2022 and some of the lessons that we've learned from the work that we've done through last year. And then again, the objectives are things that we would like to do next year. Some of those things obviously depend upon having volunteers participate in the project to work towards them and having resources available. So we're always balancing a forward-looking estimate of who's going to be in the project, how much money do we have in the project, what machines and resources do we have available, what kind of systems do we have at our disposal, and then writing objectives that are realistic towards meeting the next stage of growth for each of these goals. So I'm going to page very quickly through all of these goals again because there's more material at the end of this deck, but I just wanted to kind of show you how that was laid out. And obviously, if you want to get hold of a copy of the charts, you can go through this in detail and see the strategies, tactics, the achievements and the objectives for each of the goals for next year. Now, member participation. So I spoke about how working group members are really committing to being part of the community and supporting those goals, not directly through working in the technical projects, but almost working behind the scenes to make sure all the governance is in place and all of the resources are made available and accessible to people who are working in the project. We do also make very specific asks of working group members. And so this is written into the plan, and this plan was approved by members. So we hope people will step up and achieve these particular asks. A lot of it is ensuring that we promote the work of the projects, so whether it's social media, blog posts, writing articles about use cases, etc. All of these help the project's awareness and the community's success. So while we have people busy working away on the technical pieces of work, the working group are also actively promoting what happens and ensuring that that gets recognized throughout the industry. In fact, we even call out how many of each of these things we would expect a working group member to do. So we have recommendations there. A lot of members are overachieving in this area, and that's great to see. there's a lot of overlap between people who are working in the technical projects and who directly contribute to these sorts of this sort of promotion as well, which is obviously highly encouraged. But again, as a working group member, we expect people to be there to support the projects, both financially and through a marketing perspective. How do we take the resources that we have, which are somewhat limited, that we're trying to apply and achieve the goals and objectives for next year and prioritize them? So given that we don't have infinite resources, we need to be able to boil these down into different areas. And these are things which are now very much the input from the PMC perspective and from the community perspective as to the things that we're going to focus our resources upon. Again, I'm hoping that none of this comes as a surprise to people who are working in the projects on a day-to-day basis. The first thing that we need to do, and I've called this out as a primary focus, is to ensure that we continue to deliver those secure, high quality and on-time binary releases on core platforms. Now, the definition of a core platform is something which the PMC decides, and there's a chart later in this deck which lays out what they are. But the whole purpose of the project here is to ensure through Temarin that we are delivering runtimes so that people can depend upon those in the enterprise for their mission critical systems. So we have to ensure they are secure, and you're aware that we're doing lots of work to improve the secure engineering practices of the project, as well as testing the product itself to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities that are shipped as part of it. High quality, obviously Aquavit is the backbone of our quality program, so making sure that correctly reflects the expectations of the users of the product, and that evolves over time, but also helps developers, so looking at trends, looking at predicting failures, and ensuring that the quality bar is raised higher and higher, and doing so in a timely fashion. And everybody starts the clock as soon as that tag hits the source code repository as to how quickly they can get hold of some binaries, because once that source is made available, then people want to get onto the latest secure version of Java. And we are in a position to help them do that. So that's our number one primary focus for the Temarin project, our definition of core platforms across supported versions of Java that are supported for a duration of time, all listed on the website and its presentation. And the reason we call these our primary focus is that where we have to make decisions about the budget or the resources that we have available to us, these are the things that we will focus upon first. Building, testing, JCK compliance, installers, Docker images, maintaining the download site, ensuring the API is working correctly, marketing the binaries that we have available, following through the IP processes, etc. All of those things are part of our primary focus. Maintaining and promoting Aquavit verified Java SE binaries in the marketplace is also a primary focus. This is where a lot of working group members get real value from being participants in the project, is that they have this marketing channel for getting their binaries out. And we apply the same Aquavit criteria and TCK passing criteria to every vendor who wishes to list in that marketplace. So part of our promoting of the verification suite is to ensure that other vendors also come up and meet that same kind of a standard. And that's a primary focus area for us. Secure supply chain and secure software engineering. Again, prime area for us in 2023, and a lot of good work has already happened in this space already. The themes are making sure that we meet the demands of the SSDF framework, and the SSDF framework itself is broken down into different areas that people will be familiar with. And then SALSA, and the claim is that we're going to be aiming to hit that SALSA level 4 during next year as a primary focus area for us. That's where we're going to apply people and resources as they are available to us. We're going to be continuing to work on the identical builds and software bill of materials. Again, work which was a continuation of what happened in 2022 and the good achievements that were made there. We want to further enhance those, make sure that the builds can be verified and auditable, through that byte level reproducibility, and that we have a very comprehensive SBOM that delivers on the description that allows other people to rebuild that, but also gain information about those builds so they can deduce information from it as a consumer. And then we want to enhance the compliance testing. This is one of the quite long pole items that we have during a release, is that we have to run the TCKs. And we're always looking for efficiencies in ways in which that TCK can be executed. This is a benefit to Temerin, but also to people who participate in the project who are themselves Java vendors. And if we can reduce that time to market and reduce the amount of developer workload that we put into running those TCKs, that can apply equally well to a vendor as it can to the project. So there's a big focus on ensuring that we have those enhancements put in place this year. We want to enable additional areas of community interest, by which we mean on a secondary basis. So beyond our primary platforms, we want to enable people to bring in new platforms into the plan. That's in development platforms that, again, is defined by the PMC, where on a best effort basis, we'll be applying machines, people, and resources to bring Java to those platforms, and also to additional code streams. So these are typically projects which are being built from OpenJDK project repositories rather than the main platform repositories, to enable people to test features which are coming into Java in the future and be able to feed back on some of the implications of changes which are being made through those projects. Also from other code streams. So this is people and vendors who are themselves making changes to Java or have vendor extensions to the base operating system. And so we will build that. This is a kind of a quid pro quo. It means that we can test to ensure that Aquavit works well for every vendor, as well as checking that the tests that we have and the builds we have, the build systems that we have, work for all these different code bases as well. So, we're not just building for Temerin, it's part of a much broader community. People's participation in the working group and in the technical projects gets a benefit from their participation, as well as benefiting the project itself. This chart relates to the marketing activities. So it's great that we do all of this technical work, but there's also a big emphasis on ensuring that people are aware of what we do and the benefits of adopting these products. So this is something which we haven't really been able to focus on through 2022 to the extent that we would like to have. 2022 was very much an establishing the regular cadence of releases from the project and building up that quality story. I think through 2023, we want to also now start to emphasize the marketing and getting our message out to the right people. So we've been very lucky that people have recognized Adoptium in its current form, and there has been a lot of grassroots adoption of Temerin binaries into production, into development, into lots of exciting different areas. And I think we can springboard from that to go and take our message out to large enterprises and reassure them that Temerin is a good Java build for them to bring in-house, has the characteristics that they need, and has a strong community behind it for their production usage. Continuing to build on those relationships with external projects. So there are lots of, obviously, Java projects that have got deep dependencies on Java runtimes. We need to ensure we're building the right shape of runtimes for them to use, that they have the right sorts of characteristics, and in turn, that we can deliver a product to them that they can easily incorporate into their project, and make sure that they have the best usable runtime available for them to be successful in their own projects. And then as a marketing activity, explicitly promoting Aquavit in the industry. And you'll see blog posts and newsletter articles and other ways in which we can describe to people who are building Java or who are consuming Java about the value of a quality verification suite. And this is for procurement teams, for CTOs. It is for people who are decision makers who need to be able to, for the first time, take a look at a quality verification for Java and say, this represents the kind of usage I have for Java. And when I go out there and I'm selecting a vendor, I'm going to require that they pass the Aquavit tests as a definition of the quality that I expect from that vendor as they're brought into my business area. The innovation angle is very important, and we continue to be a very open community for people to come and try new ideas. Folks have heard of the Adoptium incubator. This is a very low bar of entry for creating a new project at Eclipse. The Adoptium incubator is an Eclipse project, but within that, there can be a number of different groups coming together to try ideas. It can be in very early stages. It doesn't have to be a very formal proposal. It's a way of collaborating under the Eclipse umbrella where the terms of engagement are understood. Now, the technical work may just be an evaluation, and the intent in that could be that we just find out a piece of information we didn't know, and then we can discard that, and that's absolutely fine. Or it may be something which has a longer lifespan and becomes an Eclipse project later. That's fine too, but it's just a way of bringing people together to collaborate in the space of Java runtimes and associated testing, tooling, and so on. We're going to continue to participate in those education programs and student programs. So, whether it's deliberately targeting the next generation of engineers, whether it's working with people who are already well established in this space. Adoptium's got a very good track record of working with these external communities and making sure that we contribute into those communities and we draw from those communities to get the best strength of the people that we have available to us. And then focusing on faster delivery times. And so we're always going to be innovating in that space of looking at ways in which we can change the way in which we work. As you'll know, we always have a retrospective at the end of a release, say what went well and what didn't go well. And we're not afraid to make big changes to the process as well, and take risks that are appropriate. We will evaluate those, and we will test them out, and we will check and see what works. But the goal is to ensure that we can get those high quality releases out as quickly as possible, so that people are not left wondering whether they're going to be left to an exposed risk, or they don't have access to the latest capabilities of code which is delivered upstream through OpenJDK. We also added the chart about considering stopping doing some things, and this is we can't continue to expand on our ideas without also kind of taking a look at the other end and saying, what can we free up resources from to be able to move into some of these different areas? And one of the things that you can read the chart, but one of the things that is kind of very apparent is the cost of releasing on any individual platform. We've got those core platforms, we've got those secondary platforms. We're talking about introducing a kind of a tertiary platform layer. We are data driven, so as you know, we track all the downloads. We have an idea of what people are talking about when they're raising issues in terms of versions that they're using. And so where we identify that platforms are at a high cost for the project to produce and do not have a large user base, we should seriously be evaluating stopping doing those and freeing up the resources to work in areas where we do have a bigger bang for the buck that we spend on producing them. On a similar sort of level, the Java versions. So, if you look at the people who are keeping up to date with the non-LTS builds, they tend to be very limited to a small set of platforms than those that go from LTS to LTS to LTS, where there is a broader set of platforms. And so we can use that data to target the builds that we do and the effort that we put into producing our particular release. I realize that we're running out of time, and there's just a couple more charts left, so I'm going to continue this fast run through. This is just a reference chart. This was produced by the PMC. It shows what is a core platform, what is a secondary platform, platforms that we won't be building. And then for Java 21, June, September of this year, we still need to maintain that list going forward. So. Excuse me. And then how do we measure what we have done? Well, there are a few KPIs, key performance indicators, that we have been tracking since we came to the Eclipse Foundation. Downloads is one which is relatively easy to track, but doesn't have a great representation of the adoption of Temurin binaries. The reason being that we have some people who pull every day in their CI system and then immediately discard it, and we have other users who take one copy of it and distribute it out across lots of cloud nodes. And so it's kind of difficult to tell from straight download numbers how broadly used the product is, but it gives you a ballpark figure, and that number has been increasing over the last few years. The committers is kind of a proxy for the maturity of the project. So we would expect to see the number of committers grow as people in the community stay around, learn more, have more responsibility, and are given committer rights that kind of represent that level of maturity. Slack members, again, proxy for the activity of the community and how often people are posting within Slack, general chat backwards and forwards, and how responsive we are to it. The number of working group members represents the companies who have committed to being part of this journey and are committing time and resources to helping the projects be successful, likewise for sponsors. And then the Aquavit validated runtimes in the marketplace harks back to the discussion which we had a little earlier about people who are seeing the value of Aquavit and that extra marketing channel to be able to get their runtimes out in front of users. And blogs is just again a proxy for our communication, and we can probably add more there in terms of tweets and newsletter articles and other ways in which we're getting the word out to people. The final chart, which hasn't quite been finished off here, but just towards the end of last year, we started to do scorecards for how quickly we were able to get releases out. And again, because that's one of the key areas that we want to focus on and make sure that we're successful at through next year, this is an area which we'll continue to work on. When did we hit our goals for getting a release out? Where we didn't hit them, where was the delay in the pipeline, and what can we do to improve upon that? So one of the key performance indicators that we'll have throughout next year is looking at the scorecard for delivering on our bit. That's all we had. As I say, hopefully there weren't any great surprises there in terms of material. It's something which the working group has signed up to do. It's had input from the folks who are working in the projects, the technical folks who are working in the projects, and it's been signed off by the Eclipse Foundation, who are going to be helping to provide the budget to support that. These charts are available to anybody. If there's any questions, we're kind of out of time for this because it was supposed to be a lightning talk. We got through it in just about half an hour. Apologies, it was a bit rushed. But if there are any questions, then feel free to shout out on Slack, or we can do it by any other channel we have available.